very few of the sites, as in the sites that we dive, that people go to see, were actually affected, so we're very lucky. You know, obviously there were areas underwater that were affected, but thankfully they weren't really the areas that we dive. So it's, in terms of the industry here, it's actually been, it hasn't been an issue in that situation. So we're quite pleased.
Experts believe the overall damage caused by the tsunami was actually quite small, with only 13% of the reefs suffering high impact. Mark is rebuilding the business by spreading that word to the West. When it comes to diving, few places are better than Thailand. And so far, the message seems to be working.
Probably from about May or June, the tourists were starting to come back at the same levels. I mean, May or June is our low season here anyway. But if we look at, you know, the business we had at this time last year, people are still coming back at the same levels. The advanced bookings for this year are back on a similar level to what we would expect on any other year. And that's positive. That's good. People have a love for Thailand. I mean, there are many people who emailed us and said, you know, we're not going to come in January, but we're going to come back because we love Thailand and we just want to come back and help everybody. And by helping, I mean just by bringing their, you know, the tourist dollars with them and spending, basically. And that's all we need and ask for.
Although diving in Thailand is back on track, for some local Thais, their future is still cloudy. In the rainforest an hour north of Phuket, Western dollars have yet to return.
Whoa!
In this part of Khao Lak, elephant trekking has a long tradition with tourists in search of adventure.
Did someone say elephant ride?
Elephants, like other wildlife, were reported to have sensed the danger last December. Many fled to higher ground just as the waves reached land. Researchers credit the animal's big ears.
Her ears are keeping the bugs away.
Elephants can detect low frequencies, impossible for humans to hear. Wit Junket is the owner of an elephant camp in Khao Lak. Before the tsunami, he ran a highly profitable business, giving elephant rides to as many as 60 tourists a day.
I have 8 elephants. Income I get from them is about 300,000 to 400,000 baht a month.
Just moments before the tsunami struck the coastline, 4 of Wit's elephants broke their chains and fled to higher ground.
When the tsunami hit, what did you see? What was going on?
At that time, I didn't know why the tsunami hit us. I was very startled, and I couldn't think of why it hit us.
How much did you lose? How much did your family lose on that day?
We lost about 5 houses. I don't know how much the damage caused. I don't really know how much they were worth.
A month after the tsunami, Wit's business, like his houses, was all but gone. Tourists are finally returning, but not enough for him to rebuild his life.
It must be hard to rebuild.
You know, it's hard to think about rebuilding new houses and stuff like that. After the tsunami, we didn't really get any money. But I just think of it as part of life. You have the ups and downs. We may be down now, but eventually it'll be better.
Like many Thais, Wit is in debt. He's still paying off loans on things he lost to the water.
That way?
5 of his elephants are now working in other parts of Thailand. If his business doesn't rebound, he'll have to put his remaining 3 elephants to work, tapping rubber from the trees. But Wit is rebuilding on his family's land. Like his beloved elephants, he's blessed with a long memory of life before the disaster.
After all that you've been through, after all that you've lost, why on earth would you stay here? Why not move?
When you stay here for a long time, you really become attached to this place. Even after the tsunami, we still want to continue to live here.
west coast suffered the brunt of last year's tsunami, but the whole nation is still feeling the effect. From the coastline to the farmland, Thais from all corners of the country are uniting for a common cause: securing the future. The nation's biggest airline, Thai Airways, has launched a campaign to recruit major corporations in the effort. 300 workers are in Phuket for the weekend to roll up their sleeves, put on boots,
I'm Cinderella, they fit,
and dig in the mud. They're here to plant a new mangrove forest along the coast. Serm Penchat works for Thai Airways. He knows how vital the mangroves are to the overall health of Thailand's marine life.
Mangrove actually does a few things. Most importantly is the breeding ground for seafood, shrimp, fish. The big fish in the ocean also, when breeding period, lay their eggs inside the mangrove forest. So this is where it's happening.
Were a lot of the mangroves washed away during tsunami?
During tsunami, the mangrove actually did a very positive protection for a lot of the inland sand dune. The area that were protected by mangrove actually were affected less than sandy beach area, which was open to the wave.
Even before the tsunami, this mangrove forest was suffering from shrimp farming and overdevelopment. Today, over half the world's mangrove forests have been lost. These natural buffers are the first line of defense for coastal communities facing fierce weather. They're crucial when disaster strikes. Along Phuket's beaches, these trees do much more than buffer the coastline. They're a natural tourist attraction.
The thing that helps sustain the livelihood of people around the area also is what's called ecotourism, doing kayaking inside the mangrove forest. So it's a new kind of travel for people to enjoy.
Planting new mangroves will help restore Phuket's natural beauty and entice tourists back to paradise.
Why should tourists come to Phuket?
If you want a real marine beach holiday, then nothing beats Phuket.
For some who already know of Phuket's secret beauty, they are compelled to return. Their lives are now tied to this place.
This is the bathroom at the back.
Last December, Andy Chagger was in Khao Lak with his fiancée and his best friend, vacationing along the coast. Just before the tsunami hit, Andy says he could hear the water rushing towards him. It was so loud, it sounded like a jet engine.
I sort of remember being in the bungalow, and then I remember waking up in the water, basically, and sort of being tossed around, trying to surface. Well, I was actually trapped sort of on a building site, so my leg was caught between a concrete pillar on this side, and then all the debris was dragged across it as it was being pulled back out. But I'm pretty sure that's what saved my life, because I wasn't pulled back out into the bay. So I think if I hadn't have been trapped there, then that would have been it.
All right, I have a surprise for you.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Andy escaped with his life after 3 operations in Thailand and skin grafts back home in England.
Yeah, fantastic.
He lost his fiancée as well as his best friend that day. Both were killed in the tsunami.
It's still difficult, but being out here and working with such a great team and all the Thais, it's therapeutic, definitely. This is all bamboo. This is brought in from outside the village. I'm not exactly sure of the source.
Andy is the manager on a volunteer project to rebuild housing for Thailand's so-called sea gypsies, a group of semi-nomadic people who live in coastal villages. When the tsunami barreled through, it leveled communities like this one.
Let's say almost all the buildings were lost. I think there's only one left standing in the village. We don't know for sure because we didn't have an exact count, but we estimate about half the population were lost. So that literally means every family in town has lost somebody, be it children, parents, brothers, sisters, uncles, aunties, or, you know, more than one.
Andy and his team are helping the homeless build 35 new homes. In the last 8 months, they've completed more than half.
What are we looking at here?
This is actually the kitchen. Most of the houses follow a similar design. They are unique in some details, like I was saying, the balconies are and so forth. But most of them have pretty much got this ground level kitchen area here. I just wanted to try and repay the Thais a little bit for all the help and kindness that they showed me. And in a very, very dark time in my life, so...
His team is as diverse as those who vacation on these shores. Volunteers from Germany, Holland, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, the UK, and the US.
What are you guys eating? We don't know. That's what you don't know? You don't. 3 different ones. I'll have a little shirt.
This is the first time they've let us eat.
I think volunteering is just a great way to learn about the Thai people and the culture, and it's just great being able to work with the people and everyone else.
What's this called? Hot dog.
Hot dog? Come to Khao Come on holiday, come and volunteer. It's amazing. It's very, very difficult to articulate just what the atmosphere is like here, but it really is very special and unique, and yeah, everybody should do it.
Decades of tourism have brought Thailand into the modern world, but cross the Indian Ocean, and it's like going back in time. 30 years of civil war in Sri Lanka has kept this teardrop-shaped island off India's southern coast from capitalizing on its natural beauty. Miles of unspoiled coastline.
The tsunami took a horrific toll here, killing an estimated 40,000 people. Entire beachfront communities like this one, which had been serving tourists for decades, were washed away. Ironically, the wave struck just as Sri Lanka was beginning to emerge as a global tourist destination.
When the tsunami hit, it delivered a 1-2 punch. It came during the high season in a record-breaking year, with 550,000 tourists spending $430 million. Sanjeeva Gaudamadasa is the general manager at the Lighthouse Hotel in Galle, a resort city along the southern coast.
The year 2004 was definitely going to be the best year we have ever had. Not only Lighthouse, but even the country as a whole in terms of tourism. But unfortunately, December came and 26th came, and then tsunami took away the hopes of an excellent year. When the tsunami hit, I was just in this restaurant just here. 2 minutes before that, I was standing right here near very close to the edge of the sea, but at a much higher height, so it was not going to affect me. The restaurant and the area right outside was full, and full of guests, because we were houseful on the previous night, all having breakfast, and nobody realized anything until everyone just suddenly stood up and screamed. There were 17 people sitting on these rocks. They were not our guests, they were people who had come from the street to have a little picnic breakfast. They just got swallowed into the sea. When everyone stood up and screamed, of course, then everyone came running out.
The lighthouse became a media center in the immediate aftermath of the tsunami. Its high profile may have saved Sanjeeva's business in 2005. Like so many who live in Sri Lanka, hardship and misfortune seem to be part of the price to live in this paradise.
We accept it as something that we have to go through again, and just do everything we can to at least break even, maintain what staff we have. We never stop any staff in the hotel, and hope for better days as soon as possible.
The government here, despite the precarious political climate, understands the urgency. It launched a major campaign to lure travelers back.
There are over 300,000 people directly and indirectly living on tourism. And for the benefit of them, if the tourist keeps on coming back, their livelihood will come back to them faster.
Before the tsunami, tourism was the hottest new economy in Sri Lanka. It's currently the 4th largest revenue generator, with 5 new resorts set to open by 2010 to handle demand. One of those trying to take advantage of the market is Alex Stanich, an American who gave up his life in the corporate fast track to open a restaurant in Sri Lanka. He's here with his wife Veronica and their daughter Ivy.
We had read about how the tourism numbers in Sri Lanka were spiking since 2002, and maybe this would be a good place to try it. So we had a honeymoon/research mission, which was basically, could I stand to try such an adventure? And I said, yes, I will try it. So we are opening a business here.
Alex knows the risk of business in the developing world. He owned a restaurant in Cambodia until a military coup forced him out. His new restaurant here in Sri Lanka is called The Firefly. Set to open on New Year's Day 2005, the Firefly's grand opening had to be delayed.
We had staff hired. We had interviewed, I guess, our top people for the kitchen, and I think it would have been a pretty urgent push to hit our opening date goal, but we could have done it mid to late January.
We decided not to. It seems just the wrong thing to do to open up our business. We were able to get back on track faster than most people, but the village around us was devastated. So, you know, our guilt, you know, stopped us from opening any sooner than May.
Although Asia's hot new market has cooled, Alex believes he still made a good choice about opening a restaurant in Sri Lanka. He sees a bizarre twist of fate in the tragedy.
It was a huge disaster here. We lost, you know, over 30,000 people in a single day. But as far as the future for Sri Lanka, I believe it was the tourism minister who said they had brand recognition now. I mean, every article about the tsunami started with the beautiful beaches of Sri Lanka, describing what it was before the